Okay, hi, welcome to the channel. We're going to take a look at some EVE Online exploration. So, scanning, hacking, just some of the basics, some of the ideas and tips that we can kind of go over, and hopefully get you started in the game. So, the first thing is we're going to be looking at needing a ship. Any of the co-ops will work here. We're not really doing anything too crazy or fancy. So this will work. It can cloak. It gives a bonus to the actual scan probes for finding the sites, and a bonus to the hacking sites. These are perfectly fine. There are other ships we can look at too if we were really wanting to. Under the faction, there is the Astero. It also gets the cloak, the bonus to the probes, and the hacking game bonus. There is the Tech 3 cruisers also have a line of subsystems that you can put in to do the same thing here. But not too worried about it. We can just start with one of these ships. The big thing here is a couple modules that are required to basically do this profession. We need to start in the scanning section here. So we're going to find the relic site and the data analyzer. These will actually let us do the hacking game itself, the mini game to find the loot. Relic site will obviously do the relic site, and the data site data analyzer will do the data sites. These do take two mid slots if you're trying to do both sites. Otherwise, you need to carry an MTU, not MTU, a mobile depot, or go refit in a station, or just live with having one less mid slot. If you don't like that, there are these two other faction analyzers. What's nice about them is that they actually do both types of sites, data and relic. So we can actually save ourselves a mid slot. The only thing is that they do cost a lot of ISK. So it's a bit of an investment. If you're going to go down this pathway, you might look into it. But to start off with, just go ahead and hang out with one of these modules. We're fine there. There is a few trade-offs though. So like here's the high tier faction one, the low tier one, and then our basic analyzer. And we can see here from a few things. So the virus coherence. This is the health of our virus going in. So this is how much attacks we can withstand during the mini game itself, which we'll see when we get to that stage. This one is 60. This is 30. This is 20. So they're not going to. These two can't take as many hits. So you're basically giving up survivability to save a mid slot. There's also the virus strength. This is how much damage you're doing to the nodes itself of the hacking game. Luckily here, this is the same. However, this one is a little weaker. The third thing to keep in mind, for the most part here, is the utility item slots. We'll see these when we get to the mini game itself, but these are different like power-ups or items we can pick up and kind of keep in our pocket. You can hold three of them with this module. It's not as big of a deal though, really, because you can kind of leave them on the board and then choose them as you need them. So this isn't really that huge of a concern because when you look at these two, they can only carry one of the pickup items. So something else to keep in mind. Um, so let's say we're going to run with one of the faction ones to save the mid slot because we don't care about money, as you can see. We also need, typically a cargo scanner is helpful. It lets us see in the cans itself, so we're not wasting our time hacking basically empty cans, and we can look at more of that when we get to it. The other items here that we need to look into is we need a scan probe launcher. The core is perfectly fine. The expanded lets you carry combat probes. We are not combat probing enemy ships. We're not looking for combat. We are cowards. So we'll use the core probe launcher. However, again, if you have money or your skills aren't quite there, you can see that this gives a bonus of 5% to the probes as the Tech 2. Down here, the faction one, it gives a 10% bonus, so you can get a little bit more strength out of it. Whereas the basic one at level, the Tech 1, gives us no bonuses. So, something to keep in mind if you have low skills, that can help you out, or if you're just trying to speedrun things a little faster. With this module, if we go to charges and we see that we have core probe launchers, or core probes, Um, Not too much to look here because we only have two options to go with. Really, I haven't used the ESS ones in a long time, so maybe we take a look at that too, and I can learn something today as well. So we can see here, base scan range is just how close you can get it down to. Nothing there. The strength is a little stronger as we go to each one, as you can see. So 45, 44, and 40, which is meaning that these are a little bit stronger to get us there. They have the same deviations and the same increments, so that's not too much to look at there. It's mostly just the actual strength itself. Again, these are going to cost more ISK as you go up. The sisters ones are reasonably priced and get the job done just fine, so we can go with that. Going back to the module, the other big thing here for the high slot to keep in mind is we want a cloak, covert cloak, because we want to be able to move around and not be seen. This is our main defense line is right here. And then going back to the mid slot for other scanning equipment, there are these. They help increase the different parts of your probes, so that this is just how fast the probes actually take to scan. That's a good time saver, whereas this is the actual strength of the probes to help you pin it down faster and spend less time in the scanning screen. Um, Otherwise, the other last big thing is we're going to want a micro warp drive, and that's just to get around the site safely or quickly, as the cans can be quite far from each other. This is the core items. You can also throw on if you really want to, or if your skills just aren't quite there. The gravity capacitor, it gives you even more scan strength to help you get past some of the early difficulties of having low skills. But they do take a lot of fittings, so beware. The lows, I would just fit it for tank, or if you are really getting pretty good at the game, you can do cargo expanders so you can stay out longer. It's kind of to fit to what you want and how you need. But these three three modules or four, depending on what you went with for the analyzer, and these two are all you really need to get going. I personally use a Stratios. It's way overpriced. Don't go with it until you really want to burn up some money. The only other thing that we'll look at here is that I am actually running implants because I do this for a lot and for fun. So this just helps me get move faster. This is just more money to throw away. The only big one here that I would suggest getting if you're really wanting to get into it is this module here, because it does up our strength. We basically sacrifice health on the hacking game for more damage, and can really help us blow through the hacking mini game a lot faster. The last thing of note that I will say is that I do like to carry around two sets of probes. This is really handy when you're out and about or just moving through systems because, as you can see, well, we'll wait for our timer to clear here so I can show you what I'm going to be talking about in 1 second. Okay, so I jump into the system, I hit my probes, you can see it launches them out, it's going to grab it to reload, I can cloak again, it's still reloading. So when I move to the next system, I'm already ready to go. I don't need to remember to sit here and click reload, wait for it. I can save time as I move through systems and be a little bit faster at the game. The next part is the probe screen. If you look down here on your capacitor over here, here's the button you need to do. It's going to bring up our probe launcher and probe scanner. Um, Usually, I believe when you first get into this screen, it's full screen like this. You can hit this to do floating or detach it. I like to do this so I can keep an eye on my overview as well as local, so I'm not getting snuck up on. Over here in the filters, we have anomalies. These are things like the ore sites, the routing sites. For the most part, this isn't what we're looking for unless there's a site that you like to look for, like besieged covert installations. We're not doing that right now because we don't need to scan it, so it's not relevant. So we'll just go ahead and take that off of our list. We just want cosmic signatures. Normally when you jump in here, you can see that these won't actually be named. I did this so I could see what was in here, although it looks like someone did my site that I found earlier, so we'll hopefully find another relic or data site. I've already launched the probes, as you saw. I'm going to start at AAUs, or astronomical units. I believe, unless things change, the way that the game still works is that these sites or anomalies can't spawn more than 4 astronomical units, or AUs, away from a celestial. So I know with that fact alone that I'll never see anything over here. Not that it really matters for us because we have a list, so that's fine. I usually start at 8 AUs, and I like to use the pinpoint formation. 8 is nice because it's going to let us kind of do a full drag, because if we did 4, well, the center probe is at 4 AUs. These kind of wrap around. That's fine, but what if the signature was just a little far out here? It's just I just find it simpler to start at 8, so I have to do at 8. I will go over the signature. I already know what that one is, so let's go ahead and start out to this guy. If you're having trouble getting to like centered, or you don't want to do that, you can actually double click and it'll center the signature for you, and you can just do that. We can drag arrows to go up and down. We can drag the plane of the box to move in that orientation of the probes. So then we're over there, so then we'll hit analyze. We have to let the probes move there. They take a few seconds to actually do the scanning process. And then we can see that we got a little bit of a hit. Now this is actually real lucky for me, so this is nice. So we can talk about what happens when you get a split like this early on in the conversation. So the way that the probes are working is that it's like a seismograph for earthquakes on Earth. So the way that that works is that you have a circle or a seismograph in the middle, and it says, hey, there was an earthquake and it was 5 miles away from me. So it draws a circle at 5 miles. Then you have another one over here, and it says, no, that earthquake was actually 10 miles from me, and it draws a 10-mile circle. We now have our two circles are overlapping in 2 points. So we need a third circle. So a third installation says, hey, it was 3 miles from me. It draws its circle. It will overlap on one of those 2 points, and now we know where it is. The probes are doing the same thing, but in a three-dimensional space. It's saying, hey, this signature is so far from me. This signature is so far from me, and they're triangulating, or in this case, eight way, I guess, coordinating where the location of the signature is. So in this case of the circle, we can look and we can say, well, if it was this one, it would have had all of these probes overlapping to say where it was. So why didn't it get a better hit on it? But over here you can see that it only has, what, 3 or 4 of the probes actually landed on the signature. So if I move my boxes over here and I go up, and then I like to, because I know this is going to work, I like to drop down one level and hit scan. And then we'll wait for the probes to move again. We'll watch it scan, the most painful part of this process. And then boom, you can see that it has gotten a lot better. I was correct. It was on my spot. Another thing to think about too with this, see if I can't do this on purpose, is as it scans one more time. So now you can see that it's a full sphere of vagueness. And this is the same principle, because what it's telling us is that one probe, because it has no idea where in this 3D space, where that signature is, other than that one probe telling us that it's somewhere in here. Well, that probe is the top one. So we know that if it was anywhere in this line, roughly, that other probes would have caught it and could have given us the 2 point or the circle that we hopefully might be able to see in a little bit. So how do we check, or how do we know where this one is? Well, besides cheating from the prior scan, we know it's going to be somewhere in this top line. So again, if I go all the way to the top of my circle here, and I hit my button, we can see after the long agonizing wait every time that I was right. I'm just about there again. And then let's see if I can't do one more of these on purpose. As we wait and see for this to scan. Nope. Would it be there that I want? Hopefully I remember to edit this out. I'm fairly new to this, so this can be more of a note to myself. There we go, perfect. So now I got a circle. And judging from what it was showing me, I think it's then two probes caught it. Because it's just saying again, like, hey, it's between these 2 points, but I just don't know where it is. And my rule of thumb with this is just like the 2 point split that we had in the first trial, is just go to the opposite side every time. It's just because, again, if it was over here, we had all those other probes to tell us where it was. So we go to the opposite side. Now, we're cheating because we already know the answer, but as you'll see, I'm right on it again. So that's how you kind of work your way through those three scenarios when you get those vague hits without having to waste an extra scan to guess, is it on the top of the circle, the bottom of the circle? No, it's always at the furthest point. Or think about just where there's fewer probes to tell you where the location is. Now, the next step I like to do, I know I have enough scan power. If you are pretty new still, you might go down one level, so from 4 to 2. I have almost always had luck going to 1 ever since I really got into all this. So I always jump down 2, so maybe play test with your skills and see how it goes for you. If you're having trouble, do 1 steps. 2 steps always works for me. So I'll go down 2, and I'll do one more scan. And then we'll wait for the most painful part of the process. And there you go. I found the site. Let's say, for some reason, that you're scanning, your skills aren't there yet, or it's a really hard site to pin down. There's one last ditch trick you can do before you give up or go find new modules to help you out and spend more money, is if you hold control down, it'll show you all the little probes. So now if I grab this arrow, I can actually shrink in the location of the probes. And you can see how my circles here got a lot tighter in where they're covering. And I believe the way that this is working, or the idea, is that the closer you get to the signature itself, the more strength or accuracy the probes individually are going to get at pinging off at the actual anomaly. So you can bring them in real tight, you can hit scan, and you can usually finish off the last couple percentage points. If your skills are still too low or it's a really tricky site, this might not work, but this is a really good last ditch. Can I get it to work? The mouse wheel also lets us move those probes, as you can see. If you're struggling, you might have to just kind of move the probes around slightly, stretch it, and keep trying until you get the right hit. Okay, so we've done that. We've made our scan. We've worked through the different vague hits that we can find, and we've also made it to our site. So let's go ahead and recall our probes. One thing that I just messed up on, hopefully you guys can remember to do it, is I like to reset my probes back to 8 AU every time I get done. That way, again, when I jump into the next system, my probes are already loaded, they're already to 8 AUs, and I can start moving things around immediately without having to waste time on setting things up. So, alright, here we go. We're going to warp to the site, and we're going to see the site. Okay, so now we're at the site itself. Every site's a little different, depends on which ones we are landing in, the quality and all that. If you're scanning in friendly space, a good idea is just kind of make sure you're not getting no friends here. That way you're not stealing their cans from them. So we don't. So we'll go to our overview, and now we have a bunch of cans. So now we have to start scanning these. So what I do when I like to do when I first get in here, because it's all about time. Time is money, and this is the whole process. So I'm going to start locking these up. I usually, the moment I land, as I find the first can that's closest to me, I'll hit the approach button. We'll throw our prop mod on. Okay, so I'm going to go to that can anyways, so I'll start with this one, and I'm going to start doing cargo scans. So now I can see how much money's in there. Not great. This one has a lot more in it. We can see this one. A lot better. We'll check this one. Doing good. Last one. Pretty good. Okay. Oh, double clicked. I believe it was this one that's not so good. So I'll use this one as my example. Yep. What I like to do on the ones that are just full of trash or empty or whatever, or I'm not really caring about, is I will drop it to a second line right here. So now I have my row of the cans that I want to hack and get the actual contents. This can, we will talk about it when we get to it. Awesome. So now we're here. We're at the can. We're going to hit our analyzing button, and now the minigame shows up. So down here you can see this is our coherence again. This is our health. It's quite a bit. Again, I'm running implants. I'm running a big ship, so yours will vary. Um, so yeah, I have 100 health. I do 60 damage, and then this is the board. The way that the board works is that we have different nodes we have to unlock as we search for the core, so we can hit that button. Now, this 3 is telling me that there is a relatively positive item, and we can talk about that when we reach them, somewhere on the board within 3 nodes of me. So we'll go here, 2. Alright, we've moved closer. We can go here, 1. So now I know one of these 3 nodes has something special for me. We know it's not this one because this was a 2. So one of these, and there you go. We found a good item. Now, what this could have been, it could have been the core that we're looking for to actually end the hacking game successfully. It could have been a hidden node, which we'll probably run into here shortly, or one of these. There's different ones. This is a repair item, so I can put it in my inventory, and if I click it, it'll start repairing my coherence with each click. So it's over time. There's also a shield. There's a dot you can apply to defensive nodes, and some other things. So we'll click again. Now we have a defensive node. We can see that it has a coherence of 50, so that's 50 health, and it has an attack of 20. Now, my attack is greater than its health, which means that when I attack it, it will actually die before it has a chance to hurt me. So these are safe nodes for me to just clear, not caring about, so I know anything 60 or lower, I can just click through as quickly as I can. If I could not destroy it in one shot, I would then take damage from its attack strength, and then we would take turns until one of us loses. Hopefully it. So we'll go again. There you go. I'm safe again. So I'll click it, and now I'm 1. So now I know that one of these nodes has something special. I believe this had a 2 on it, so we know it's not one of those. And there you go. That's the core. Can I find... Yep, so here we go. Now this is what we call... I would refer to as the hidden node. This can either have an item or a defensive node behind it. It will not be the core. This we know for sure. And there you go. An attack node or defensive node. So we click the core. Core pops. We've hacked successfully. We hit that. We hit the cargo button. And oh, look at that. The one that I didn't scan is empty, of course. Okay, so you would repeat this process with all the other cans. Now, what I like to do with the site is I would look now that I can see everything clearly. And yes, I can bum rush to this one. That's fine. Then go there, and then work my way back. Or I can go straight to this can. And then just when I arrive, I can go to this can, that can, that can, that can. Just something else to just kind of save time so we're not having to backtrack our way through the site. Time is money in this process. Everything is trying to slow us down. So we'll do 2 more cans here just to show what's going on with this site. So again, we got into range. I hit the button. Now I was traveling towards the can. Our analyzer only has a range of 6,000 meters. So that means, though, that if, let's say, I was in a frigate, we're driving towards it, and I hit the button, and then the frigate decides that it needs to way overshoot the can, and I go 7,000, it will actually desync me from this screen, and it will count it as one failed attempt. Now, what does a failed attempt mean? Well, we'll talk about that next, because we're going to go to this can next, and we'll talk about it there. But for this one, we're going to do the game again. Oh, look, we got 1, 1, we know it's there. Cool. This one actually cuts a defensive node in half. It can be really nice to save your life. So, like, for instance here, I would take damage. I can use this if I need to. Click it, and then it cut it in half. Now it's at 40. I'm at 60. I take no damage. Alright, 2, 2, 3. So we're going to go back up. I can remove you. 1. And then here we have a shield. It just blocks 2 times that you're going to get attacked. Don't worry, it will not be wasted if you actually do kill the defensive node in one shot. So there is no wasting of this. You're safe to use it when you are low on health or desperate. So here's another good example of something. As you can see, I found the core, but I clicked again because I'm just in a hurry and have no attention span. And now the defensive node has locked out the surrounding nodes from me. So I have to clear it so I can get access to it again. So if you're running on low coherence, you're still fairly fresh, slow down, don't be me, be careful. And then again, we found it, but that's now, okay, so that was a nice item, so we're good to go, good to go. One last thing we're going to talk about real fast on this board, because I'm not probably going to get an example of it. If you have a node like this one that is fully surrounded, so this node doesn't count because it has blank spots here. This node doesn't count because while it does have just about everyone, it's still missing 2. But a node like this one that has everything around it, and this is what other hackers refer to, I believe, as the rule of 6. If I were to click on this node and had gotten a defensive node, I know now that I am guaranteed to find the core somewhere in this circle. You're not guaranteed to get a defensive core here if the core is here, but if you do get a defensive node here, then you are guaranteed to get the core here. So it's a one-way direction here. So sometimes you will click on it, you won't get a defensive node, but the core can actually still be somewhere in the circle, and you just don't know it. But it's a good way when you're running the board to quickly find your way into maybe a corridor of nodes like this node and run down them as a quick little way to screen. So like this, I would click here, here, here. And then that would tell me instantly whether or not I had a good chance of finding the core there as far as the speed run goes. So we'll click, we'll find it. Now we have our loot. We're good to go there. And then we're going to unlock it so we don't have it in our queue of cans to do. And then now we're going to head down the way to our next can. Now, this can, it technically has loot in it. I should have done it with the first can, but we're doing this for science. So when we get over to this can, what we're going to do is we're going to just not waste our time with it. So I could skip the can and move on and then leave the site with this one can of trash here. There's a couple of reasons why we don't do this. One, I'm in my home area. I don't want to be a jerk to my friends. And hopefully they're doing the same to me and not picking out the good stuff and leaving me the trash. The other reason is, unless things has changed in the years, there is a finite amount of data relic sites in the universe at any given time. So if we all left all the sites at one can, we would have nothing to find. So it's just a good way to clear the queue and let a new site scan, hopefully next to you, probably not. So we're going to be nice, and we're going to clear it for others, but we're also going to hopefully get a new site spawned somewhere. So what are we going to do that? Well, we're going to fail it. So we're going to open up the board, let it cycle, we're going to hit close. Oh look, we failed it. Okay. Well, the can's still there. our analyzer has cycled down. We're going to hit it again. It's going to bring up our board. Okay. And then now we're going to close it again. And the can's going to explode. It does no damage to us. The can is gone. There's no longer trash in this site. And we're safe to move on. And then we can go and do the other cans. I believe this is going to cover all of the basics of scanning and probing for the most part. If there's anything that you have questions about or need to know, let me know, and I can either make a second video or answer them in comments or whatnot. Thanks for coming, and I hope it was helpful. A quick thought I'm sticking in here was that a neutral did jump into my system while I was wrapping up the video, and I just wanted to show you something else to do is that V is the D-scanner's default button. Make sure you have core probe launchers on your D-scan as well as the ships, and you can just kind of have it off to the side, be pushing the button as you can see. As I push it, it's going to light up, and just keep an eye if someone's coming. If you're somewhere a little bit more hostile or don't know, you can always just move away from everything at 2,000 meters, recloak up, wait and see what happens, wait for them to leave. Or like we have another friend now, so maybe something's going to happen. There's the third. Um, but yeah, just be safe. Keep an eye on your D-scanner. Yeah, happy hacking.